So the first thing I want to cover today are what I would call type conversion functions. We talked about the four data types that we're building on in this class. And there are way more than four data types in Python, but we talked about string, integer, float, and Boolean. Okay. String, we talked extensively about last time. Remember, the difference between an integer and a float is whether or not it has a decimal. An integer is a digit with no decimal, or a series of digits with no decimal, a whole number, essentially. A float is a number that contains decimal, and a Boolean is always one of two things. It's either true or false. What we haven't talked about is the fact that we can convert between different types of data. And sometimes when we convert between types of data, it inherently changes what's there. In fact, most of the time, I would say it does. And we can convert from a string to a float, or a string to a Boolean, or a Boolean to an integer. We can convert between all of those things, in most cases. I know you can't convert a string to an integer because it doesn't know what to do with that. If I convert the word Bill into a number, how do you do that? Well, some languages just figure it out in their own kind of way. Python just says, nah. Python's a little bit lazy about it, I guess. But type conversion functions are named fairly intuitively after the type of data that you want to turn something into. So if I want to take a variable and I want to turn it into a float, I would use the float function. And so it takes the variable that you want to change as the value. Now, all of these are return something functions, meaning you have to capture the result in some way. You have to put it into another variable. You have to print it. You have to do something with it. Otherwise, it'll just do the conversion and it'll go away. So we have float. We have string, str. We have int for integer. And bool, Boolean for bool.